Good evening and welcome to Tucker Carlson Tonight. Joe Biden finally gave his first press conference this afternoon. No president has ever waited this long to answer questions in public. And as of just yesterday, we were not still entirely sure it would happen. A reporter at the White House saw Biden ambling around and asked him if he was ready for his first press conference. "What press conference?" Biden replied. Apparently, in the end, somebody told him. A staffer pointed Biden toward the tape mark on the floor and gave him a shove. Biden shuffled forth and started talking, and pausing, and then talking some more, and then pausing. You've heard the term pregnant pause. Joe Biden's pauses were third trimester quintuplets. These pauses were ready to burst. Here's one of them.
So the best way to get something done, if it holds near and dear to you that you like to be able to, anyway, we're going to get a lot done.
Got that, America? We're going to get a lot done. A lot. Of course, we'll get a lot more done and confuse far fewer people if we go ahead and read our policy positions from small pieces of paper that others have painstakingly prepared for us. That way we won't lose consciousness in mid-sentence or accidentally start a war. So when the topic of North Korea arose, Joe Biden knew exactly what to do. He found his piece of paper and he started reading the words that had been written on it.
We're consulting with our allies and partners, and there will be responses if they choose to escalate. We will respond accordingly. But I'm also prepared for some form of diplomacy.
It's got to be pretty intimidating to the North Koreans, who, of course, are watching it in real time. They've got nukes in Pyongyang now, and that means they probably have cable TV, too. Don't underestimate these people. They're crafty. Of course, the North Koreans were already deeply afraid of Joe Biden. They know that he means business. They remember the time that Biden beat the crap out of the entire Kim family with a chain. He and Nelson Mandela back in '86. You've heard the story. They've lived it. It's part of their lore. And now this. North Korea is facing not just Joe Biden's masculinity, but an entire piece of paper with instructions on it that Joe Biden is perfectly willing to read anytime he needs to. That cue card is Joe Biden's secret weapon in the fight against nuclear proliferation. You can breathe easy, America. And that's good news because we've got problems of our own in this country. One of our biggest problems is voting. It's getting harder and harder to vote. There are some people in America, bigots, let's just call them what they are, who are demanding that we know voters' identities before we let them choose our government. They want people to show IDs at the polls, if you can even imagine, in 2021. These bigots, Joe Biden explained today, are Republicans.
And so I'm convinced that we'll be able to stop this because it is the most pernicious thing. This makes Jim Crow look like Jim Eagle.
Jim Eagle? Who's Jim Eagle? A comic book hero from the 50s? Some kind of dog-faced pony soldier? We didn't know who Jim Eagle was, so we went scurrying to our Google machines to look it up. Then we realized, duh, we're being way too literal here. It's an analogy. Crow, eagle. They're both birds, but an eagle is much bigger than a crow. That means that asking people to show a driver's license when they vote is much more racist than segregation and lynchings. Segregation and lynchings were Jim Crow. Voter IDs are Jim Eagle. Way worse. And that makes sense when you think about it. Most black people don't have government-issued IDs, and that's why they can't drive cars, or fly in airplanes, or hold jobs, or stay in hotels, or go to the doctor, or cash checks, or sign rental agreements, or buy homes, or open bank accounts, or purchase Sudafed at CVS. Black people can't do any of those things because they don't have IDs. Millions and millions of them don't have IDs, and it's sad, as Joe Biden often points out. Now, you might think the solution to this tragedy would be make it easier for Americans to get IDs. Subsidize them if you have to. No, Joe Biden has a better idea. Just make sure that no one ever has to show an ID in order to vote. And that way, the millions and millions and millions of African Americans who somehow don't have IDs won't feel bad or left out. They still won't be able to drive cars or have jobs or bank accounts or live anywhere, but at least they can vote a lot, and the rest of us won't be racist. Problem solved. As Joe Biden just told us, he's going to get a lot done. And not just in the next 4 years, by the way, but in the 4 years after that. Joe Biden is running again. He told us that today, too. By the end of his second term, Joe Biden will be 86 years old. That's a full decade past the life expectancy of the average American man, which, for the record, Joe Biden has already exceeded. But there's nothing average about Joe Biden. Time improves him. Like certain varieties of artisanal cheese, Joe Biden is meant to be aged. He just gets sharper and more pungent. His next campaign will be even tastier. Watch.
Have you decided whether you are going to run for re-election in 2024? You haven't set up a re-election campaign yet, as your predecessor had by this time.
My predecessor needed to. My predecessor. Oh, God, I miss him. No, the answer is yes. My plan is to run for re-election. That's my expectation.
My plan is to run for re-election. Now, we weren't in the room when Joe Biden said that, but according to those who were, there was an audible gasp of horror from behind the curtain. Sources said it sounded very much like Kamala Harris. We can't confirm that, but we can tell you that Joe Biden has already picked a theme for his next campaign. The theme is unity. Now, wait a second, you might be thinking. Wasn't unity the theme of Biden's last campaign, the one that just ended in November? Yes, it was. But that wasn't enough unity. There is more unity on the way, ladies and gentlemen. Bucket loads of it, tractor trailer loads full. Imagine every swimming pool in Malibu topped to the brim with unity, and then add all the pools in Bel Air. That's how much unity we're talking about. And by unity, of course, we mean policies that make Americans hate each other much more than they ever have. That's what Joe Biden has given us so far, and soon we'll have more.
The third reason I said I was running was to unite the country. And generically speaking, all of you said, no, you can't do that. Well, I've not been able to unite the Congress, but I've been uniting the country based on the polling data. We have to come together.
Oh, the polling data, the real currency of Washington. Now, we haven't checked the polling data ticker today, but we have to tell you that we approach this one specific claim with some degree of skepticism. Not every one of Joe Biden's unifying policies has fully unified the country just yet. There are still some crotchety holdouts deep in the American interior who aren't fully sold on his fresh new program of being humiliated, berated, disarmed, and taxed into poverty and powerlessness. Those people are bigots, obviously. They're probably friends with the snake-handling evangelical freaks who complain when some dude shows up at their 8-year-old daughter's locker room. But whatever, you can't please everyone. You know who you can please, though, if you're Joe Biden? The media. The reporters are highly pleased. They're one group that remains utterly united in their love and support of Joe Biden, and the polling data show it. Joe Biden knows this well, but he's not pandering to reporters. Joe Biden is bigger than that. It's not like the Washington Post is a credit card company from Delaware. He doesn't need to slobber on them. So today, Joe Biden explained that despite his massive successes on our southern border, the ones you're seeing on TV, he is not ready to show reporters exactly what he's doing down there. That's for him to know and them to find out.
We haven't seen the facilities in which children are packed together to really give the American people a chance to see that. Will you commit to transparency on this issue?
I will commit to transparency. And as soon as I am in a position to be able to implement what we're doing right now.
Well, that's kind of unusual. You don't often hear a politician admit that he's rejecting openness and embracing secrecy. They usually lie about that, but not Joe Biden. Biden tends to say the unspoken things out loud. We're as opaque as a shower curtain, he told the press corps today, and there's nothing you can do about it. It's pretty provocative. Of course it is, but provocative in a way that reporters enjoyed. They're naughty, those reporters. They like to be teased. Deny them what they ask for, and they want more. Here's a lady from state media, National Public Radio, flush with wonder as she describes the remarkable personal qualities of her boss, Joe Biden.
You've said over and over again that immigrants shouldn't come to this country right now. This isn't the time to come. That message is not being received. Instead, the perception of you that got you elected as a moral, decent man is the reason why a lot of immigrants are coming to this country and entrusting you with unaccompanied minors.
When you call a man moral and decent in your question to him, it kind of sets the frame, as they say. But the bottom line is a moral, decent man is running this country, ladies and gentlemen. That's the message of unity. And by the way, it's a required message. So repeat it to yourself 5 times and then repeat it to everyone you know. If you don't, you're racist.